Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, from Northeastern University here, talking to us at the IITTI World Civility Index. I'm the one of the co-founders, Patrick Chun, for the World Civility Index. What we'll do now, based on consensus, that I'll give a brief introduction, and then you guys can launch Q&A in that regard. Um,
Okay.
so what is this World Civility Index? I sent you a little graph about an hour ago in
Yeah.
email. It's a bird's eye view of what the World Civility Index can do and is doing for the world at this moment. We have been very lucky. We have been invited by the MIT Presencing Institute to be part of their collaboration team to solve world problems. So many things came out of that, and also with the Harvard's inner development goals, another organization, and they have been writing a book chapter on the World Civility Index, published in Switzerland last year. So the World Civility Index, in a nutshell, it's just like your personal financial credit rating. So, but instead of measuring how well a person can pay his bills, it measures how much manners a person has, how much empathy, how much intercultural awareness, what most people call soft skills. And so that human resource people can actually have the number, the World Civility Index, and use it to screen job applicants in that regard. So that's the most basic use of it. So that's part number one. Part number two is regarding a company. Nowadays, a lot of companies, they have to have what they call an ESG report. And ESG is environmental, social impact, and internal governance. So those are the main thing. It's the latest iteration on the term corporate social responsibility. So every company now, in the old days, they have to, of course, do well, yeah, good balance sheet, and nothing in the red, hopefully. So that has been given. But nowadays, they also need to have this ESG report. And the ESG report is almost as important. Well, it's just as important because a lot of investors, customers, a lot of stakeholders, they look at the ESG report to see whether your company, like if you're Nike or something, are you a good corporate citizen,
Mhm.
Nike and so on. So what does it have to do with the World Civility Index? Um, the ESG is a good idea, but there are a lot of opponents saying that well, how do we know you're telling the truth, especially on the social part and the internal governance. Environmental, that is relatively easy to do because you can dip a little gauge into the river and measure the ppm, the parts per million for dioxin, for mercury, and so on. But how do you measure social impact? And so the idea came about that World Civility Index, since it's about human capital development, the number can actually be used for ESG report by companies. So if employees read an article or watch a video, they earn points on a day-to-day basis, and those points from the employees can be aggregated, can be put into an average. So we give companies a single number, a company average World Civility Index, that they can put into their ESG report. And now that's a significant thing because this number is not cooked up by the internal team in a company, but from a third party, us, independent, unbiased. We don't care, if you are Elon Musk or King of England, if you didn't do any reading or watch any videos, and if you didn't put in the effort, you everybody start off from zero. So there's
Yeah.
no favoritism given in that regard. So when people or company average, they earn 20 points on average. That means that on average, the employees have put in 20 days of effort. every day, just a little lessons. We call them mini lessons in that regard. So that is number two, component number two. So number one is about recruitment, HR and job applicants. Number two is about the ESG. Number three and number four are really big picture. Number three is it's really about UBI, the universal basic income. With AI coming online, a lot of experts, pundits, Elon Musk, Sam Altman of ChatGPT, and others are really saying that we are mostly going to be out of a job very soon. We are all going to be unemployed in the traditional sense. And what are we going to do? So they are saying that there needs to be some kind of payment, just like during COVID-19. The government would have to give out a check to you and I, say $1,000 US, and no questions asked. So everybody will get something like that. It's called the UBI, Universal Basic Income. So everybody can live, basically. Now, the question comes in, well, aren't you going to be taking away all incentive for people to work hard at all? And so, we raised our hand during one of the United Nations meetings and said, well, we may have a solution. Is we ask people to put in the effort into having contribution to civilization. And that is through empathy, through intercultural awareness. Travel is going to be big in the future. So intercultural awareness, good manners, to remend social fabric. That's the idea. So that is where the World Civility Index can come in, is an incentive program so that everybody will get the $1,000. But if you want to earn more, you need to put in the effort to have the education to be more empathetic, love and empathy in that regard. So those are the bonuses people can do. And by that, when people are more empathetic, wonderful things can happen. They can be volunteering, many things that play. So that's number three. Number four, it's the biggie. That is where existential threat comes in from AI. A fellow by the name of Geoffrey Hinton, my compatriot in Canada, or I should say Professor Geoffrey Hinton from the University of Toronto, also an ex-Googler. He was working at Google, but then he resigned from that position to come out to say AI could pose an existential threat to humanity because AI is going to be that much smarter. And one day it may figure out that, humans are really not necessary for planet Earth to sustain itself. The only saving grace, he and other ex-Googler, including Mo Gadet, also from Google, they came out and say human being needs to be good role models. We need to have this kind of civility so that AI can see that the world is not just about political bickering, vitriolic comments and attitudes where, if you don't agree, I'm gonna punch you in the face. That's what AI see right now. And so if AI see that, it will have the internalization of this kind of behavior, this kind of value, which is not really what humanity is about. So humanity needs to have this kind of civility showing AI so that AI can see the world more realistically. That's what Professor Jeffrey Hinton and Mo Gadet and all the experts are saying. There could be a chance that we could survive. There's no guarantee, but we could survive if all citizens have this kind of civility education, which I came from engineering. We never had anything like that. So we need to have this kind of education en masse. And that's where the World Civility Index could come in because people can earn points and they can show it to the government, to the community, and so on and so forth. And most importantly, showing it to AI that there are people doing something like this, putting in the effort to contribute to civilization. So those are the four main area of where the World Civility Index could come in. And so far, we're very happy. 200,000 users around the world, with banks and insurance companies and even governments using something like this to help their employees and citizens in that regard. So that's the World Civility Index in a nutshell.
I got you. It kind of reminds
Awesome.
me of there's an episode on Black Mirror where they have like every person has kind of like a score, like it's like kind of like a credit score, and it's how they can get access to certain things or get into certain places based off of their, from how they kind of move around in society, how they contribute to society. So that's pretty cool.
Now, probably in most people's mind, in the back of their head, they say, "Oh, Patrick, this could do more harm than good." In fact, we have people coming up to us and say right in our face, saying that you're doing a lot of harm to society. And my answer is, the devil is in the detail. Anything could be used for the good or for the bad. And for us, the World Civility Index, like I said, everybody start from zero. There's no class or race or anything unless you really do the mini lessons that has been vetted by an international team. You don't earn any points. That means you can't show your effort into something like this. And so it's
Mm,
used for an incentive instead of punishment, saying, wow, if you don't do this, you're going to be, lack of this. The universal basic income is still there. Your $1,000 is guaranteed. It's not saying that if you don't earn those rows of the next point, we're gonna take some money from you. But
yeah.
how do you incentivize to put it onto the positive side? So I think that's the main goal.
Okay. Nice. Well, thank you for that. That was good. That was good information. Yeah, we just have some questions that we were going to ask you just about um, what you do. I mean, you gave us a pretty good overview, but I think just as part of this assignment, we'll just ask, and if you repeat certain things, then awesome. So the first question that we have is the main goal. What is the main goal you want the soft skills credentialing program to accomplish right now, which you kind of already touched on?
I think it's a matter of amplification. Like right now, we already said, there are 200,000 people around the world using this, companies and so on. In the grand scheme of things, it's still a drop in the bucket. There are, what, billions of people around the world, millions of companies. How in the world can we, IITTI, which is a very small group, here in headquartered here in Vancouver, Canada, we're just a small group of enthusiasts, and we're all volunteers. We don't collect a salary. How can we magnify this? How can we market this? How can we communicate to the world in a bigger way? So I think that is the $1 million question. Is
Yeah.
I would love to tap into your opinion, your experience in life, and I know Sean, you're saying that 5 years of sales experience. That is a lot of a lot of treasure, a lot of wisdom in something like this in the real world, which is what we need. The I've told you about all the good things about the shiny parts of IITTI. I gotta say, we have a lot of weaknesses. One of them is we're all a whole bunch of old people. None of us are below the age of 50, and I'm being very generous on this already. So how in the world do we talk to young people? Like my daughters are 21 and 25. I feel like I don't talk to them very well, and definitely our values are very different. So how do we do that? How do we craft the narrative so that people would say, ah, yes, it's not the Black Mirror. It's called the Black Mirror, right? That thing. Oh, this is so dystopian. Let's just forget about something like this. But we gotta say, no, 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 no. Nuclear energy could be used for a lot of good things, but it can also be used for really bad things. It's up to us to utilize nuclear energy in the most positive way. And this is exactly the same. Measurements are, I'm an engineer, so we think of measurement, but it's like what Peter Drucker the one of the father of modern management, already said, without measurement, you don't have progress. Because how do you know whether you're making advances or not? So Peter Drucker many years ago already said, when you have measurement, then you can have progress in that regard. And that's what we want to do is, we want to give the measurement to governments and so on, and how they use it could be problematic, definitely. It's like rich people is not a problem. It's how do they use the money that could be problematic in that sense. So we want to say we are giving it a tool. How do you use it? It's really up to you. How would a company use it? How would the government use it? How would HR use something like this? We have no control, even if we want to, but can we have the narrative so that they understand where we come from, and so that if they don't use it like that, their constituents will not like it, because ITTR will make our case saying that, okay, this is an incentive tool. But if they see the government not using something like this, well, they're not going to get very far. And even in a company, they will not get very far, because they can go to ITTI's website and say, oh, this is what they stand for. But my company, my boss is not using it like this. I'll quit. So it forces company and everybody to play nice in that regard, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Appreciate that. Our next
I could,
question is, oh, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
I figure I'll just go down the line with you.
Yeah.
Who's the primary target audience that you want to focus on? Is it like HR professionals, universities, students, or another specific group? And then I have a kind of another question on top of that.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah. The DNA of ITTI is that we are a bunch of trainers. Well, myself, um, not included. I grew up as an engineer, so I'm the odd man out. But all the other founders are trainers in their own right,
mhm,
world-renowned image consultants, life coaches, so on and so forth. So their market has been corporate training. So there's a good foothold into the corporate world. What we are really
mhm,
lacking are universities. But well, of course, it's changing now. There's major universities using the World Civility Index for training, is what they call micro credentialing. So I think this is what we'll be very interested in, is how do we actually spread the word. Universities are very different from companies. Companies, they look at each other and their competitors and so on, and they'll say, oh, you're using that? Oh, let me talk to Patrick and see if we can use something like this too, as one of their internal KPI, key performance indicator. So that can spread very quickly. That can spread more virally than universities. Universities, in many sense, are more of a silo. They have their own little kingdom. They can do whatever they want and so on. So they don't really need to do that. So we find very hard to spread that with university, because we are just ITTI just don't have that kind of capacity in
mhm.
spreading to universities. Like I mentioned before, even your good professor was talking about, well, maybe Northeastern can have the career program having something like this, which I say, wow, great. How do we do that? And my answer right now is I have no idea. Who do we talk to? We just don't have that kind of experience in that. The university using it now, they are really from trainers. Some trainers actually go to universities, do work and so on, and that's how it gets spread so far. But how do we take it to the next level with universities? What about all the universities? Can we have
Right.
a viral effect? Those are kind of billion-dollar business opportunities
Mhm.
that is on the table now.
And do you feel like the messaging that you like, I know that you've, you know, judging from the experience that the team has focused on, like corporations and that kind of thing and like HR groups, but has Has the messaging been broad across all of these groups, the ones that you have been able to kind of branch out from outside of the corporate world? Like, for example, universities and corporations, are you using the same type of messaging in terms of introducing the concept and all that?
Um, the fundamental message is the same. Is we want
Okay.
people to be more civil. For corporation companies, of course, like mentioned, they can be used for recruitment, so that new job applicants, if they already have this kind of credential, they were given preferential interviews, for example, and they can also use it for internal performance. So far, in a lot, most companies, yeah, they have many tools for measuring soft skills or personality, but that's not an ongoing thing. They take snapshots and say, okay, you are this type of personality, so this kind of training, so on and so forth. But it's
Mhm.
not an ongoing learning model like the World Civility Index. So that's one thing. The other thing is, of course, what I mentioned before is the ESG. Uh, this is a different group. This is not the HR, the learning and development, or L&D managers. These are the CFOs, the chief financial officers, the CEOs. They are really looking into the ESG report as almost like an existential exercise, because if
Mhm.
they don't have the investors investing into the company, they're running out of blood. It's almost like so that becomes a very important thing. And the world is changing so fast now that most stock exchanges around the world are mandating all their publicly listed company, they all have to have ESG reports. So a lot of companies are really scrambling. They may not have a lot to do with the environment. They just don't. So they have to
Mhm.
focus on this social impact. And that's where we come in. We say, well, we can help, with human capital development. So not only developing your own employees, why don't you also give some of the World Civility Index credits to an orphanage, to
Mhm.
somebody you want? Then you can really measure, the progress in the orphanage, how many the kids are using it and learning up to be civil, to have the soft skills, so on and so forth in that. So for companies, that is the message that they
Mhm.
understand and they need it uh, badly. So that's good. That's good for us. For university, it's a little bit a little bit slower. I wouldn't say all of them. Of course, I'm talking about most universities want to run by the status quo. That's the unfortunate thing, because uh, um, AI is coming, but universities are still, well, of course, they're scrambling to find out what are we going to do with student assignments. Most student assignments are going to be AI generated. University professors going to rate AI generated assignments. The university professors will be very busy, and for the students, they just type a few things in, and voila, the
Mhm.
report comes out. So how do you do something like this? So the next thing is, well, how do we fit the civility? How do we fit the soft skills into their curriculum? And the answer so far mostly has been we can't. It's not there. It's mostly
Mhm.
about finance, engineering, history, language, and so on. Those are relatively hard skills that can have a multiple choice and or essay and so on. Soft skills is very different. It's not an education of the brain. It's more of an education of your emotion, of your heart. So it takes a very different thing. But ITTI, for example, in Macau, or Hong Kong, right now we have set up what we call a humanity hub, a humanity industrial hub, where it's a new category of industry, of business. So since last year, we have set up NGO and other companies, training companies, commercial companies, government, investors, and so on. So we're building ecology so that they can have universities. Right now, for example, the Macau Institute of Management of Macau, they are standardizing using the World Civility Index for all the people going through the program, they need to have this kind of training. We call that the business 101. So all of them would need to learn how to dress properly, how to shake hands, how to communicate, how to have a meal. Dining etiquette is a big thing in many of the business world. So those are kind of things that Macau used to be a Portuguese colony right next to Hong Kong. And they want to move society into that direction there. So they're very aggressive. That's one example in that part of the world. In Southeast Asia, there's Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand. Malaysian government also very aggressive into adopting something like this, so that they say, well, the Malaysian people can be more worldly, can integrate with the world in a much smoother way in that regard. So those are kind of dialogues that universities would listen to. And we can't just wedge into the curriculum, because they already have set up 4-year program in that regard. But the thing that came out, like Professor Carolyn was talking about, is micro-credentialing, which we're doing for Macau, for example. Macau Institute of Management, we said we'll set up a micro-credentialing program, and they want more. They want much more than that. But we say we start from something like this, so that the users, students can all access it on their cell phone, which is their preferred mode of learning for many things. So those are the kind of changes that are happening very, very quickly within the last 18 months in that regard.
Nice. This next question is kind of a two-part question. The first part is, do you guys have any, who do you see as competitors in this space? And the second part is, what makes the platform unique or more valuable compared to those competitors? Like, what sets it apart from everybody else?
Okay. There are many, many commercial tools for soft skills assessment, personality assessment, soft skill assessments, and so on. Like I mentioned before, most of them are snapshot based. So they take one snapshot, and so here you are, Delino, you're like this, your personality type B or whatever, and so on. It's not really a learning model, whereas the World Civility is more of a learning continuous model. So you can earn points on a daily basis. So it's a living number. It's not just one thing. So that's one thing. We are nonprofit. We're not a commercial company, and all of our standards are open source. Open standard, open source. Open standard meaning everybody can use the standard, no questions asked. Open source meaning it's free. We actually give out these kind of standards and guidelines that our group have spent years of writing, and we just give it out free to human resource, so that they know exactly, that's what inside there. We know exactly what it is and what our employees are getting in that regard. And so we're doing the heavy lifting for HR people. All HR wants to have the employees behaving civilly, behaving with least amount of frictions and so on. But how do you do that? So all HR, the millions of HR out there, have the same problem, and we're helping them to solve them. It's not just an assessment like, oh, well, we take a snapshot, but it is a continuous model that can stay with them day in, day out, year in, year out in that regard. So I think that's the main thing. Now, you can say, well, there's Coursera, there is the Udemy, there are all these learning platforms. They are not really focused like we are with soft skills. They have many different courses on there. So they could be our customers. In fact, one day I may go to Udemy and say, well, why don't you have all your soft skill program being accredited using the World Civility Index numbers, so that your students, your customers can benefit from something like this. So in terms of marketing, I think you may say good questions like Lino, you were asking, who are the competitors? These could be actually our customers if we play the right game in that regard. Yeah.
Cool. Sean, you got anything?
So I know that you've been talking about these target groups, right? And do you see a world in which there's some kind of linkage between the target groups. So, um, in terms of programming and adoption. So, for example, um, employers might need this to, again, measure candidates against each other and what would be a good fit. But then adoption through universities, again, kind of like the lead up to obtaining a job is having some kind of knowledge base. Usually you go to university or something. Um, so some kind of linkage there,
Mhm.
uh, that would utilize, both, the aspects of both,
Mhm.
and kind of, do you see a world where
Absolutely.
that,
Absolutely. I think
okay,
I think that could be a very brilliant move. Is how do you have a unifying theory
right,
so that both worlds would see the benefit. And so I think the key word could be pipeline. So we're building a pipeline for
mm,
companies. And they will say, oh, bing, yeah, of course, we want, in fact, when we go out and talk to human resource managers and so on, they say, Patrick, how do we build every time we go out to recruit a job fair and so on, it's very expensive, very time consuming and so on. What if every time we do that, we're building some kind of a continuity so that it's not just one effort, one shot, and then you got to do it over again the next time and so on. Can we have a way so that we can have a pipeline? And so, well, that's what the World Civility Index can do. You, as a company, you sponsor some universities, buy them the reading tickets, the IITTI reading tickets, and you give the reading tickets to your favorite university groups, and those students can earn points, and so that when they apply to your company, you already have that pipeline. They already
right,
have 30 points of World Civility Index, so they know about dining etiquette, they know about empathy, they know about a lot of things before they come on board. So it
right,
saves you a lot of headache, a lot of training, and maybe firing of the wrong fit and so on. All that because of preventive medicine. You already set up all that system beforehand. And when you give out those kind of credits to university students, you can put it on your ESG report. Say we gave out 100,000 points of credit to Yale universities, and those are concrete numbers that you can put into your ESG report that nobody can dispute in that regard. So concrete numbers, data driven, and a narrative of building a pipeline. So those are the kind of things that could work. Now, the problem comes is who's going to be doing that? Who's going to be going to the companies and talking about something like this and going to university and that? Like I said, ITTI, we're only a dozen or so people.
mm-hmm,
So it's a
mm-hmm.
drop in the bucket. We're doing it, but it's
Piece by piece. Yeah, yeah.
very, very, very small piece in a big ocean. So now this is something very new. It's very recently in the last 6, 9 months. There are young people coming to us because we work with universities. University students can come and say, Mr. Patrick, I would want to set up a company in Mexico, and we want to do something like this for the Mexican uh, industry, the Mexican market in that regard. So they set up a company and they do this kind of marketing work in that regard. And of course, they will be making good money in that. So those are the situations right now of how marketing is being done.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Um, yeah, this information is great. This is all like new stuff for me, especially. Um, I play baseball for a living, and this kind of reminds me of like intangibles in sports when it comes to athletes and professionals and whatever. And my dad played a long time in the big leagues, and that's something that we've always talked about, how we value players. It's like you got the concrete, the hard skills, right? Like fast, can you run, can you throw, can you do all this stuff? But what are the intangibles? Are you a good leader? Are you a good teammate? Do you have high IQ? like what separates you
Excellent. Yep.
from everybody else. So yeah, it's I'm glad I can kind of connect the two from my world and this other space and put those together.
I think in the world of sports, I think there's a lot of parallel. In fact, one of the universities we work with is specifically with their sports faculty, and they talk about all the intangibles and how can they cultivate something like this. So
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah, it's cool.
definitely yeah.
Do
So cool.
I mean,
go ahead.
yeah, sorry, I was just like you got me on the sports thing too. So I'm a former competitive soccer player, and the recurring theme is soccer IQ. And so, to kind of connect it back to their organization's mission, like, just from like I think about sports, and the soft skills needed to take that from maybe a college level to like the pro level. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, and it's so I see the application there, like to kind of build a bridge from, just being like a college player and then developing the skills to be successful outside of the field kind of thing.
Right. Right.
In fact, I would love to
School.
have somebody like Delino and also Sean, with both of your athletic experiences. How do you overcome adversities? How do you overcome setbacks? How do you how do you deal with injuries? The resilience, that's part of is a big thing with the soft skills now with a lot of young people, especially like for example in China, they have a thing called young people called tanping, which is like quiet quitting. So they just do the minimal. They just don't see the future. They don't have a purpose anymore. Whereas in sports, you can instill that kind of self-imposed suffering. You don't have to do that, it's not pleasant, but you do that because of discipline, for a purpose, for meaning. And you build that kind of almost like spirituality with young people now that really, really, really is needed. World Health Organization already declared there's a mental crisis, not just a mental issue, but mental crisis around the world. And so how do we deal with something like that? And I think this is exactly what, the intangibles of sports IQ can contribute. They see that, hey, it's not, professional players and so on. They have setbacks too. They have all the human suffering that I may feel. If you can show that in a mini lesson, day in, day out, I think that can do a lot of good in that regard.
For sure. Yeah, the thing now that you kind of mentioned that, in baseball, it's a game of failure. And so you talk about overcoming adversity. And if to be successful, to have success in baseball as a position player, which is, everybody else that's not a pitcher, right? And if you get out 7 out of 10 times, which you're failing 70% of the time in the sport, you're pretty good. Like you're a pretty good baseball player. And when I got drafted, I got drafted out of high school. High school was a cakewalk for me. It was like when I got to professional ball, man, there were so many guys that I came in with or come across who had talent, ability, all these different things, but they didn't know how to handle the failure because they're going from an area where they're having all the success, and then you're coming into, a situation where everybody's kind of at the same level as you. And that's where those intangibles come in, like you were talking about, like overcoming adversity, learn how to deal with those failures. And in society today, I do feel like we are in like a quitting kind of like culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like people are just they want to find the easy way out of
Yeah.
things, and it's like trickling into like everything. It's like spreading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just sorry, I'm just kind of like relating, going back and forth. But
This is good.
That's a
This,
good.
yeah, Sean.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that's a good point, Delino. Like, you're talking about like people like giving up and the resilience almost is like going down. They want the easy route, and it's like boom, that's where AI kind of comes in into this like final more like existential mission and goal from the organization of like saving people from an AI threat. And so it's like every just I think that's a great point is what I'm saying.
It's the perfect storm right now. We already have people quiet quitting, COVID-19 being so isolated with young people. They don't have that social skills as much as other more older adults. And then AI comes in as the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. Just keep everybody say, well, I give up. I can't compete with AI. Nobody can compete with AI. So why should I even try?
right,
Um, but there are opponents saying that university degrees, university education is actually more important now that is not for jobs, but for personal achievement, personal actualization in that regard. So I agree. It's an actualization kind of process.
yeah,
So in the future, in the Maslow pyramid of hierarchy, you get the basic income, the $1,000 come in every month, no questions asked. So you can put food on the table. But what about the higher ones? We wrote a paper for youth about the youth standard in they need to cultivate hobbies, maybe sports, that would be a very, very good thing. Self-imposed discipline and suffering. So those are kind of things that we're talking when we talk to world organizations in that they're all scrambling, trying to find solutions
mm,
in this.
I got you. Um, nice. What are some of you guys' challenges when trying to gain awareness, like to the general public, I guess.
Yeah, the general public, there are two marketing routes we're taking. One is bottom up, grassroots, like for companies and so on, what we have been talking about. The other
Yeah,
one is really talking to through groups like the MIT group I talked about, the Harvard group I talked about, and so on. In those groups, there are movers and shakers and they want to find solutions in novel ways. So those are the top down. And IITTI, we also got recognized by the United Nations Sustainable Development, this World Civility Index. So we can have a dialogue with them. But of course, top down is in many cases are more bureaucratic. They are slower and they have their own agenda and so on. So we're going through that, but we still do that because you just don't know who will come out of the woodwork and say,
yeah,
hey, we can do something like this. As what's happening, for example, in some Southeast Asian countries I mentioned before, they just come out because they learn about us. They say, "Well, I never heard about you." I said, "Well, we're very small, so it's not a surprise." But they once they hear about it, then it blossoms into something much bigger and wider in that respect. But it's because they have already seen us having the discipline to go through the grassroots movement, companies and students, individual business people using the World Civility Index, like what Sean is saying, bit by bit, one by one. So those are the hard-won battles over the years in that regard. So for you in the marketing, I think one good exercise would be how can we, for example, spread it with universities? What would be the communication piece? Maybe just a one pager saying, well, this is the exact wordings that IITTI can use to talk to, for example, the Northeastern University's career program manager, for example, in that regard.
Mm. What marketing strategies have you guys already used?
Uh, None. We haven't really got a strategy. That's why, help, how do we do
Yeah,
something like this? Uh,
right.
so far, I haven't, IITTI hasn't done very much in that area. We're a very static, very passive kind of animal because we're just a numbers container. We contain the World Civility Index, and we get to talk to United Nations and all the big organization. But in terms of the day-to-day battle, it's really the trainers. We have something like 100 different trainers who are using this system around the world, and they are the one who go out and do the battle. So they say, oh, hey, Patrick, we got this university, like mentioned, Macau Institute of Management is through one of our trainers. She said, we can do something like this. I got the connections. They understand and they agree. They buy into this vision, and so they're doing quite a bit of stuff. And so one thing leads to another. But again, that's only a drop in the bucket in that regard.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but to your point, how can we how do we formalize it, making some kind of a template approach so that all the all our partners can use in the future?
Okay. What is what does success look like when this is all said and done? You know, you do everything that you want to do and accomplish with, getting this thing out there. What does success look like at the end of the day?
Well, it's definitely utopia, but I think that's the long goal, of course. In
Yeah.
terms of what we're doing here, I think if a university would set up some kind of a micro credentialing program that they can show as an option to students, and they can have the narrative of why this is important, why this is something that is important to a student's future, not only career, but future lifestyle in that regard. So better relationship with your partners, with family members, with communities, and so on. And there are actually future jobs that has been invented that doesn't exist right now. This is the post-labor, AI dominated, robot dominated world. There are still going to be lots of jobs available. Remember, I talked about the mental crisis. There could be a lot of jobs for the preventive medicine of that. So those are great opportunity, but they need to have the empathy. They need to see that it is not a low-paying job or being a nurse aide or something like that, cleaning out bedpans and so on, but it's something meaningful, um, almost spiritual in that regard. Is a total mind shift. Right now, the whole world value on GDP, on the gross domestic production. But in the world of robots, when they can crank out a gazillion pair of sneakers and laptops and cars and whatnot, what does measuring GDP actually mean? It means very little. It's no longer about measuring human endeavor. But you need something like, now this is from the MIT group. They said, well, you need something like the World Civility Index. So Patrick, you get your butt and get this thing to the next level. Is you need to measure human well-being in the truest sense. The GDP is misleading in this day and age. It's useful for industrial age where they measure the number of widgets you can produce by a factory with workers, but in the future, it doesn't matter very much. China, they already have something called dark factory. They don't even need to turn on the lights because there are no human being working in there. It's all robots. So it's a
Yeah.
dark factory. And so it is coming, and there's no reason why not in terms of technology. So what does it mean by GDP? It becomes less and less relevant. In fact, GDP could be misleading because if you have a war going on and your ammunition factories are cranking out bombs and tanks and bullets and all that, GDP goes up, the general production. So is exactly what you don't want. So you need to measure the true human being, well-being, and that is something the World Civility Index can come in and supplement the GDP part in that regard. So you really measure how well people are living, how much empathy they are cultivating, how much effort they're putting in, and the self-imposed suffering in going through sports and all that. Those are the important things. The human performance, nothing to do with technology. And so those we need to re-educate the whole world in terms of what the value is like. So like Peter Drucker said, unless you measure it, it will never get managed and you'll never get improvement in that regard. So that's why our group here is very enthusiastic about this. So that's the end goal is like in Mexico, this young gentleman creating a marketing company, doing business. There's somebody wanting to enter. Well, we'll see. Yeah, but we'll see who that person is.
That's the other person in our group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it could be from other universities because we work with other universities.
Okay. No, I think she's with us.
Okay. But anyway, so that is the Mexican young gentleman. He's setting up a company so that he can do the marketing as a business, so he can help us in providing this kind of narrative for the Mexican universities, I suppose.
Okay.
I have one last question, and
Yeah,
then
go ahead, Tom.
yeah, I know we're approaching about an hour. So, the last question was for me, right now, like current state, Patrick, does it cost anything to use this platform? Whether it's a corporation, university, is there any cost to it?
Yes. Mhm. Usually we charge $1 for per lesson per student. So every day we don't allow them to binge read or binge watch, more than one. So every day is only one video or one article. And so if they have earned 100 points, that means the guy has to spend 100 days having the discipline. So if nothing else, it shows discipline for
Hmm.
the person in that regard. And yeah, universities and companies, we sell them a ticket so that they can it's like a phone card. They give them a ticket and they can enter that number into their account, and then they can have the credits to take the program.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything that we didn't ask that you think would be important for us to know?
I think you
Or
guys have been quite conscientious in asking all the good, right questions.
yeah, I mean, you answered a lot, especially in the beginning of the conversation. But I just kind of we wanted to hit on certain, some of these questions that we kind of have written down, and if that's everything, I really appreciate your time. You know,
All right.
this is very informative for me, and I'm sure Sean too. So,
Yeah, exciting stuff. Really
Yeah.
exciting stuff.
yeah, this is really interesting. I never would have thought of something like this without getting on the Zoom call and speaking with you. So I appreciate you taking time out your day and yeah,
We'll take it from here then.
yeah, yes, we will.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you,
Bye-bye.
Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right.